Okay, so joining us now and has been for the last 10 minutes, Tim Gray from Tim Gray Media, two-time Emmy Award winning. Let's talk about major winners. Let's talk about the foundation and the work that you have been doing tirelessly for at least a couple of years now.
It's it's been an honor, first of all, to be involved in what we're doing. We spend a lot of time filming in Normandy, so we know how the people of Normandy feel, again, about the Band of Brothers and about, the men who helped liberate them, whether they were the 4th Infantry Division or the 1st or the 29th or the 82nd or the 101st. There's a very deep passion over there for what these men did on June 6th of 44 and thereafter. So working with an internationally known sculptor, Stephen Spears, who designed the U.S. Navy Monument at Utah Beach, Stephen and I sat down one day and said, it would be great to do a monument in Normandy that focused on leadership. And because nothing had really been done in that regard, there have been individual monuments to the Navy and the Army and the Air Force and the airborne and things like that, but we wanted something just focused on leadership. And we thought, well, who epitomizes leadership in that area of the world, and who would be a person who would draw people to that area so the aspects of leadership on D-Day would be discussed. And we thought Major Winters would be the perfect candidate because he is internationally known. There were other great leaders on D-Day, obviously, anyone from Norman Cota to Jim Gavin, or you can name many. But thanks to the books by Stephen Ambrose and the series, we wanted somebody who everybody would know and recognize as a leader. And immediately Richard Winters' name popped into our mind, and that was the case. So we approached the Winters family, and the Major, very, very humble man that he is, said, through some contacts we have, I will agree to this, but only if you recognize all the American divisions who took part on D-Day. So what the monument is it's a likeness of Major Winters in combat on D-Day, a likeness of him in a leadership position, kind of like he was at Breakhor, with a quote from Major Winters on the monument talking about, wars do not make men great, but they bring out the greatness in good men. And then the base of the monument recognizes all the American divisions who took part on D-Day, and that's the way Major Winters wanted it. And he didn't want to be singled out, and we didn't want to single him out, but he was the perfect example of leadership, and he wanted this project to continue even if he passed away, because it recognized the aspect of leadership on D-Day, and Major Winters was just the perfect example of a leader. So we approached the French in Normandy and met with the mayor of St. Marie du Mont and the folks at the Utah Beach Museum. They were very enthusiastic about it, and we immediately got into a car with them, and they took us to a location. They say, this is where it's going to go. And the location is on the road coming out of St. Marie du Mont, and it overlooks all of Utah Beach. Breakhor Manor is just to the back of the monument, to the left. St. Marie du Mont is just to the back of the manor, to the monument, and then off to the right is Carentan. So it is the perfect focal point for Major Winters on D-Day and beyond, and his leadership aspects. And so we've been raising money now for a couple of years, and we've got some great people behind the project. And the French have asked that we dedicate the monument officially on June 6th of 2012, and that's what we're planning to do as we continue our fundraising efforts. By the time we had started this project, the Major was not in great health. So I never had the opportunity, unlike some other very fortunate people, to meet him. And I've had contact with his beautiful wife, Ethel, and she's an amazing person. And so she's been my point of contact, but the Major has okayed everything that we have sent to him through Ethel, and had okayed everything, and he had approved the process as we went along. That's a regret I'll always have, is the opportunity I never had to meet with him. But through talking to people like George Luss Jr. and others who have met him, I'm very honored to be a part of this project.
I think it's outstanding that when you broach the family with this, that naturally the humbleness of Major Winners came through, and he's like, I'm not going to agree to any of this unless you and make it for everybody.
Exactly.
And,
I mean, he understands. He understands, and you understand. There were a lot of great leaders on D-Day, and a lot of the great leaders were the NCOs and the men on the beach at Omaha or 82nd or 101st guys in the hedgerows. I mean, there were just so many great leaders on D-Day, and he understood that, I think, more than anybody. And so he wanted this to be something that could be celebrated by people in France and the people in America, but also to recognize everybody who really took part in D-Day, and they were all leaders in their own way.
How far away are you from meeting the actual end-all be-all goal on this?
We're about halfway there at this point. The monument itself will cost about $200,000 to build, and we're about halfway there. There'll also be a documentary film on Major Winners' leadership of men in combat in World War II, and that will have an interview that has never aired before that Valor Studios did with the Major, I think back in 2005, 2006, that has never aired anywhere, and they were nice enough to donate that interview to this film project. So once the monument is dedicated, the documentary will chronicle the building and also the dedication of the monument, as well as Major Winners' leadership of men in combat. And we've interviewed a lot of the Easy Company men about Major Winners, and it's really a film that we think will become one of those types of films that you could show in high school, and really will be a film that showcases the leadership aspect of life. I mean, not just in combat, but how you can become a good leader in whatever you do. So we're halfway there on the monument. We're almost there on the documentary film, and a lot of great people have given their time. We have one 11-year-old boy in Pennsylvania by the name of Jordan Brown, 11 years old. His mom called me up one day and said, "How can Jordan get involved?" And so Jordan came up with the idea, and his mom, Yasmin, of selling bracelets, kind of like the Lance Armstrong yellow bracelets. And we've been selling these bracelets $1 at a time, and they say hang tough on them. And this young man, 11 years old, has raised $25,000 for the project.
Wow.
11 years old. And we,
outstanding.
Yeah, he's, and his website is hangtough6644.org. And I can't tell you what it means to see an 11-year-old boy who is trying to honor his own hero, and he's from Major Winner's hometown in Pennsylvania. So, people like that come out of the blue, and really you start to understand the effect that this man had on people worldwide. And I think it's just people love heroes. I mean, these were my heroes when I was 6 years old. I'm 44 now, but when I was 6 years old, the World War II generation were and remain my heroes. And I think we all want heroes, and Major Winners epitomized really what I think we all see in people, leadership and goodness and keeping his men alive and doing what's best for his men. And, 11-year-old kid has had the honor of raising money for his hero, and I think that's an incredible story.
No, you're absolutely right. That's awesome. Now, how can we get involved? Obviously, the website, but give us all the contact information for what you have.
We'll have a website, easycompany.legacyconnect.com, and that's a 501c19 run by the official Band of Brothers website, the official veterans website of the men, and all that money goes towards the monument. So they've been very supportive of what we've been doing. So we have a few channels where we're raising money. The former governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Ridge, is involved with our project. Kurt Schilling, who's a famous baseball player in the United States for the Boston Red Sox, one of the best pitchers ever, he's involved as a spokesperson for the project. So we have a lot of great people who admired Major Winners enough to get involved in this project, and I feel like honestly that having dealt with this whole topic has brought out the goodness in a lot of people. Even the actors, the guys I mentioned before, you have to understand these guys are very passionate about the men they played and the responsibility they had to get it right. So guys like Ross McCall and Jimmy Matteo and Richard Speight Jr. and Michael Cudlitz and and all the rest of the guys, have been involved in what we're doing because they believe in the message. And it's a good message. It really is.
It's an excellent message, and I want to thank you for spending the last couple of years creating the foundation and getting this done. And Elodie, one of our girls in the chat room, actually wanted me to thank you for her for the efforts, because I do believe she is over in France right now.
Well, thank the men. I mean, when I go to a place like Normandy, you walk around Omaha Beach, or you walk around the hedgerows in Normandy, or you drive around Normandy at night, you're in awe of what these men were able to accomplish. So, I would say, thank a veteran, thank a World War II veteran for what they did. And understand when you go to places like Normandy, or I was just in Guadalcanal, actually, this past fall. When you go and you stand on these battlefields, you just shake your head and say, how did anybody come out of this alive? And the courage it must have taken and the sacrifice. And that's when you really appreciate what these men were able to do. So I'm just a small part of this, and I'm just honored. It's the most important thing professionally I've ever done in my entire life, and the most honorable thing I've ever done professionally in my entire life. And a lot of great people are involved, and I'm just happy to be part of it.
Well, whether you want them or not, you got our thanks. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
We appreciate the time that you spent with us today, and all the time that you've already spent working on the Major Winters Foundation and the project. It is fantastic, and I could stand here all day long and say thank you, but I think you know what I mean.
Well, what you guys do too is so important to keep the message moving forward. Unfortunately, a friend told me one day, he was asked by his son, he said, the son said to the father, does this Omaha Beach have anything to do with the video game? Young people who don't understand the sacrifice and the courage, or they look at the war as a video game, you want them to understand the whole scope of it. You want them to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly between 1939 and 1945, and more importantly, you want them to understand the lesson. And a very humble generation, and I really admire that generation in a very thoughtful way for how they've handled. I just went to do a job, I came home, and I went on with my life. Well, it was more than that. It really was. And we're losing 1,000 a day, 30,000 a month. And I don't know if you guys know this, but of the 16 million Americans who served in the war, only about 2.3 million are left. So we're losing these guys and these women as well at a very rapid rate, and now is the time. It's critical. Very big time element. Very critical.
That's true. That's very true, and and a lot of us have already lost our soldiers without ever actually knowing the sacrifices that they personally put forth.
Right. And a lot of people are out there, whether they're here in the UK or in France, a lot of people are doing a lot of great things to preserve the memory of these men who fought overseas, and I say thank you to them, because without them the memories would fade away, but people are trying to keep it alive, and thank you to all of them as well.
I hope we'll be in touch with you soon. I'd love to get you back on as soon as you hit your goal and are ready to take it to France.
Absolutely. We encourage people to get involved, and we're looking for people who are passionate about what we're trying to do, and everyone's welcome. And I'm sure the Major would say the same thing if he were still with us, that he would appreciate the outpouring of what people have done so far with this project, and it's an honor for a lot of people.
Tim, thank you so much for your time. I just want to personally thank you for taking the time out to come on and talk to us. It's been very interesting.
Show. It's a great show. It really is. It's one of the best I've heard, and you guys have a great format, and it's really an honor to be a part of this. I mean, you guys really are doing a great job, no question.
Professionally known as winging it, but that's a neat compliment coming from a broadcaster of such stature as yourself.
Well, so when you wing it, sometimes those are the best shows, and you've had some great guests on. Dale Dye, Dale I know, and the actors, and you've had some of the great veterans on, and those characters, the two guys from South Philly, Bill and Babe. They're national treasures, and So it's been an honor to meet these guys over the years and to be on programs like this. And you guys really, thank you again for keeping it alive.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tim.
Bye-bye.